Welcome in to another edition of Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew, and I'm joined, as always, by my co host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. So I'm I think last time we were on, I was talking about the brain fog, the long term symptoms from COVID, and that seems to have kind of cleared up over the last couple of days. I feel more like myself, which is nice because there's lots of stuff going on in the NFL right now that I want to pay attention to. So yeah, so
Yeah,
good timing.
yeah. Well, let's do that. I think there's a lot of today's show that we'll just kind of talk about NFL stuff. I'll start out. Normally, I'm always wearing Lions gear, right? But probably the most disruptive, baddest ass man I've ever seen play football. Aaron Donald retired after 10 seasons. So I'm wearing my Rams shirt. Still got to have my Lions hat, but wearing my Rams shirt for in honor of Aaron Donald and his retirement. 10 years in the NFL, 10 Pro Bowls, 8 first team All Pros, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year.
It was more than
that. No, 3 times for Defensive Player of the Year. Once was Rookie of the Year, and 8-time All Pro, first team All Pro. I think he and Barry Sanders are the only ones to win or earn All Pro 10 straight years or something like that. And they both played exactly 10 and then retired. So yeah, he was. I watched the very, very end of Lawrence Taylor. I was too young to really appreciate him. I was kind of like the end-ish of Reggie White. I was able to appreciate him a bit, but I've never seen someone as disruptive as Aaron Donald was. He was amazing. So it's a real bummer to not be able to watch him play. Although we do play the Rams next year, so it'll be really great for Jared Goff to not have to fear the beast there. So
yeah, lots of people I think in the NFL on the offensive side of the ball are appreciative but glad that a player whose only peers on the defensive side of the ball are Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor. So
yeah, I know Kyler Murray, tweeted out. A lot of the guys were tweeting out, congratulations and stuff. And at the end of Kyler's tweet was, "And please don't come back."
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Enjoy your retirement.
Enjoy your retirement. Don't come back. We'll miss you from afar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess he told McVay and Snead the day after the Lions game. He said, "I'm full. I'm done." And so they knew right from the day after the Lions beat them in the wild card round of the playoffs. So interesting that they didn't do anything cap wise. Like they restructured him like earlier that day or earlier that week. And I'm like, why did they restructure? And then immediately he just up and retires. Like that's kind of a douchey move. But I guess what I understand is he ended up restructuring specifically to open up that cap space for when he retired. He didn't,
it's the
screw him over.
It's the Drew Brees thing.
Yeah, it was more of a parting gift than a douchey move, which I didn't understand at the time. So I do now, but
they gave him most of his money up front with the restructure, and then his retirement allows them to spread his cap hit over 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's the
freed up $9.5 million.
Yeah. So yeah, he did something nice on the way out. He was I never heard anybody say anything bad about him, So every time I watched him, he's completely dominant player. Can't believe he went 13th. Looking back on his career, so, but he was one of those. Yeah. He was one of those outliers when he came out, right? And so it was like, oh, should we take a defensive tackle who's
a little undersized,
maybe not as athletic, but like was completely great, at Pitt,
Yeah.
So, he's part of the reason. It's like, okay, well, maybe you do, because if you think he's going to be what he's shown to be, then you've got yourself a home run. So
there was, I think it was Adam Schefter had like retweeted a tweet that he had gotten during Aaron Donald's first preseason.
Yeah,
And let me see if I can find it here.
that's okay.
It internet is going slow for me today. Come on, load the damn page.
Do you remember what the tweet said, Mike?
Yeah, it's. I've got the page coming up. It's going really slow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He said, "Just got this text from Rams practice. Aaron Donald is unreal." So I mean, very simple, but like even back 10 years ago, in practice of his first year, they're like, "This kid is special." So it was fun to watch him. So I'm bummed that we won't get to watch him going forward. But you'll always have YouTube highlights, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about the age we live in. Is that anything that happens now we'll be able to see forever.
Yeah, whether we want to or not.
Yeah.
So what else we got going around the NFL?
Finally, Bears fans can breathe a sigh of relief. I have never seen a group of people whine this hard about a quarterback leaving who has done what Justin Fields has actually done. Like, they haven't won a playoff game. He's just exciting, and they were happy that he was there or whatever. And but they are so upset that he's been traded, and that the ramification of that is that you get to take a player who was the number one pick for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I mean, like Rick Spielman, who has worked for the Vikings and for the Lions and is over at CBS, has said that he thinks that Caleb Williams is his top quarterback prospect since Elway.
Elway?
Since Elway. And I was like,
so better than Manning? Better than Luck?
Well, when Manning came out.
Holy shit.
So, like, Luck's the guy there. Luck is the guy that was Manning wasn't even considered necessarily the best guy in his own class. Because Ryan Leaf was right there, Mike. I mean, he went to.
I mean, it was kind of the same way with Stafford versus Mark Sanchez, but I think everybody kind of knew that Manning was better than Leaf.
Yeah,
but maybe not like, yeah.
At the time that they came out, and like ultimately that's what Caleb will be judged at as well. Is that what does he look like in 3 years? Yeah. And so.
Or 2 years, because that's all Justin got with a really shitty team. They didn't do anything for them other than say, peace out.
3 years, 21, 22, and 23.
Was it 3 years?
Yeah.
I thought this last year was his second year.
He's in the same class as Sewell.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So, so this was year 3. Now,
Caleb's going to come into a decent team. Like, that's not what Justin had, right?
Right.
Like, he's going to come in with offensive weapons, offensive line.
Yeah, so I think that the big difference there is the skill position players. Like they got DJ Moore in the trade where they traded out of number 1 with Carolina last year.
Yep.
And DJ Moore is obviously a great player. And they traded a 4th round pick for Keenan Allen, who has been in the league for 13 years, but last I checked, he had a 90 grade from the slot, as early as last season. So, I mean, like, the dude is going to get open, and if they still have the number 9 pick that they can do whatever they want with, maybe there's what if Rome Odunze is on the board? What if Joe Alt were to slip to 9? What if they decide to take a pass rusher? Like, there's another piece. Anyone upset obviously doesn't like. Well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, like, he's kind of a
You're just making So, well, I'm sure his mouth hasn't helped him at all.
Yeah, I think that
I want to be part of the franchise. I want to own part of the franchise and stupid shit like that. That is against the rules. Like, you can't do that. And B, like, what the hell?
The last person I heard that said anything like that from his camp was his dad.
Yeah.
So, is that what Caleb thinks? I don't know. But like, I don't
Yeah.
care if he says that stuff. I don't care if he paints his nails or whatever he does. Like, I doesn't none of that stuff changes about how he plays on the field. And
Yeah.
like, if you're the Bears and you have traded away Justin Fields at this point in the process, you're broadcasting that you're taking Caleb Williams at 1. Anything else is a monumental change of direction. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do think of all the teams that could take him, that in the top 5, basically those first 3 teams, I think that Chicago's probably the best set up to support him. Like, the coach is there, the GM drafted his quarterback, they have a team, like, the Bears are not a bad team. They won 7 games last year. So they should get better. They've got some addition. I mean, they've added great players. I mean, I love Keenan Allen. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think that if Caleb Williams doesn't make it work in the NFL, it probably wasn't going to work out.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's got the athleticism.
Really athletic.
Yeah. So it'll come down to work ethic and desire. Like, does he have the Tiger Woods, I'm going to put everything into being the best player in the history of my sport? Or is he going to be Jamarcus Russell, who doesn't look at tape? He doesn't look at, Johnny Manziel. I don't know if anybody's seen the Netflix Untold documentary for Johnny Manziel, but he's like, I didn't watch film. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just took it for granted. I just wanted to be famous, kind of thing. And if he's got that attitude, then he will end up like Johnny Manziel. But if he puts effort into it, I think he could be a damn good quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's what the Bears are trying to get, is just a good quarterback, not the next coming of Patrick Mahomes. Like, he plays in a similar style to what Patrick Mahomes plays. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Like,
Yeah.
if for some reason he turns into Patrick Mahomes, fantastic. But like, you don't have to be Patrick Mahomes for this pick to work out.
Yeah. I do appreciate Donkey Kong's take on him. I hope he's a bust if the Bears draft him. Otherwise, I hope he does great.
Well, I mean, like, it's a very real, that's a very real concern, because like, if he does work out and he's just decent, if he's like a starting level Kirk Cousins ceiling kind of quarterback that's going to stick in the NFL for multiple contracts, then like, you're completely justified taking the pick. If he's anything better than that, it's a real problem.
For us.
And like, this is not to say that like the Minnesota Vikings also went out and made a trade with the Houston Texans to acquire the number 23 pick in the NFL draft a month out. If that is not broadcasting their intention to try and move up. And so how far do you have to move up? Are you going to...
they've got Sam Darnold. They got their quarterback of the future.
Well,
I'm kidding, obviously. Right.
Yeah, and like, A6 makes a good point. Like, I am not going to the draft.
No, we're gonna be doing our draft night thing live again this year. So
which is way more fun.
way more fun
than being with a ton of other people. Gross. So
and waiting 29 picks, and that's assuming we don't trade back and out of the first round altogether.
It's going to be 4 hours just there, like that.
And that's just for the actual draft. If there's any pre-draft stuff, and it sounds like a fun time. I'm not going to do it on a Thursday night in Detroit and have to drive 2.5 hours back and work on Friday.
I already took Friday off.
So you were smarter than me.
Yeah, I can stay up and wake up when I want to, and then just watch rounds 2 and 3 at night. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to find out what activities are going on for Saturday, and maybe go out there Saturday, but definitely not the Thursday.
No, I think that it's a great thing that it's going to be in Detroit, and I think that they'll probably go all out in order to make it a special event for the city and the people there. Oh, nice. I'm driving down from Green Bay on Wednesday and staying through Saturday. That's awesome, man. You're gonna have to let us know how you liked it. Okay. So I don't mind that, Hatters. Like you and I disagree on a lot of stuff, but I like that one.
Yeah.
So
FYI, I don't know if you saw this. Romeo Aquara retired today.
I did not see that. Good luck to him.
Yes, he announced his retirement from the NFL. And yep, so he is done. So
Yeah,
not as big of a deal as Aaron Donald, but he played some years with Detroit, and we appreciate him for it.
Yep. Those chants will be loud, A6. I can. And Donkey Kong will be right there leading the charge. We know how much he loves him. So I did think that what the Bears got back for Justin Fields was lighter than what I would anticipate, like a 6th rounder that can be upgraded to a 4th rounder if he plays 51% of the snaps this season. And apparently they've already told Russell Wilson that he's the starter. Yeah. So it doesn't, they're anticipating having, I mean, like, I think that Pittsburgh is anticipating Russell Wilson leading the charge, you know, like you are the guy until we have to make a change, right? So we'll see. Like, I do think it's interesting though, because Arthur Smith, the Steelers offensive coordinator, was the head coach of the Falcons last year. And the speculation heading into the offseason was like, where would it be best for Justin Fields to go? And the Falcons were right at the top of that list. And it's like, if Arthur Smith wanted a quarterback for his offense, it's Justin Fields. So like, I do think there's this little, not tension, but like head coach said, this guy's the starter. The offensive coordinator's like, this is the perfect guy to run my offense, and we're not going to play him. Like, it does seem a bit weird.
Yeah.
I also heard that the Steelers have already said they're not going to pick up his 5th-year option. Like, why are you trading for him then? I know it's his
that's interesting.
$25 million, but I mean, like, and that's a ton of money for a backup quarterback. But like, Russell Wilson's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and then maybe that's. Yeah, and that might be what they're trying to do. Like, Russell, you get week 1. We're telling you that now, but like, you need to earn it the rest of the way. If Fields does well, you play poorly, you know, we're not gonna be afraid to throw Fields in there. That's why we got him as a backup to you. So I found that super interesting as well. Although I will say, like, for what, a 3rd round pick and $1.2 million, they went from Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in their quarterback room. They did things well. I mean, I think both of those guys are upgrades from what they had before.
It's hard. It is hard for me to envision a world where someone could be like Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, who's also off the team now, and Kenny Pickett. And like, I don't think that those guys are awful quarterbacks, but I don't think that they're not. I don't think they're starters.
Yeah,
you know, and like, they have 2 guys one guy who's very clearly a starter in Russell Wilson, and another guy who might be, you know, and so yeah, you're right. And like, for nothing, like, Russell Wilson is on the cheapest contract that he could sign, like vet minimum for his time in the league, and that was just a fuck you to Denver, you know. And then they were like, oh, nothing compensation draft wise, and a dude on the 4th year of his rookie contract, you know, who was taken 12th.
No 11th. Comp pick for you.
Yeah, basically, right? So,
although thank you, Jonah Jackson, for signing a giant deal, because that's going to almost assuredly lead to a comp pick for us.
The Lions will not get a comp pick next year.
You don't think so?
So Over the Cap has already put out their 2025 comp pick projections, and the Lions don't qualify for one because they signed too many players. So
we just signed that guard,
Kevin Zeitler, which I was thrilled about.
DJ Reader.
Yep.
And then what? The cornerback. And we traded for the trade for the cornerback won't affect it, but the other cornerback that we signed might. Yeah.
Yeah, Robertson. So there's a little bit of a discussion going on, like in the chat, about like packages and Hendon Hooker. So I've been going back and watching every time the Lions went for it on fourth down last season, and just tracking some information like down and distance, at what point in the game, like what play they chose to run, like pass or run, that kind of thing. And they passed on 4th and 3 or less a lot. Like in those situations, in those down and distance, regardless of the field position, they passed most of the time. And I would think that having somebody in there like a Hendon Hooker who could threaten you with his legs, if nothing else, should at least be a consideration. Now, yeah, there's risk to that, so let's not get crazy. But like going for it on fourth down and like running, I think they ran 3 fake punts last year, are also risky propositions. So I mean, like if Dan Campbell feels that Hendon Hooker is going to give him an advantage when converting on fourth down, I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see. You know, gambling Dan Campbell.
Yeah, he's no longer Motor City Dan Campbell, right? He's gambling
Hooker
Dan.
is not a threat to run in the NFL. Why do you say that?
He was pretty mobile in college.
Yeah, like compared to Jared Goff, he's the Flash. I mean,
so is the
Jared
construction cone that got knocked over.
Yeah, it's true. Jared did run for 1 first down when he got flushed out of the pocket. So it's not like,
did he actually run for it, or was it a tush push kind of thing?
No, it was a run. They never ran one tush push with Jared Goff. So like, I think that that's something. Okay, all right. I still think he's more mobile than Goff, but okay, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe not. I mean, so like, we'll have to. I mean, we've got 9 months, so or whatever. I can't do the math off the top of my head. It's 9th month, 6 months. So it'll be fun, and we might still draft a quarterback. You know, not first round or anything, but like
no.
But like,
God, that'd be fucking crazy, wouldn't it?
How did Hooker run a 5.0 when he was hurt during the combine? So when did he run this 5.0? It wasn't at a pro day. Was it?
Did he have one?
Well, I mean, Tennessee had one, but like,
I mean,
he was still hurt. I mean, he was hurt halfway through the season. Yeah, he had a torn ACL. So I don't know. I'm not saying that ASICS is wrong. I'm just curious when that took place. So,
yeah, looking at NFL Draft Buzz from Hendon Hooker, it shows his 40 time as 4.77 seconds.
Not great.
Not great.
I mean, like, certainly not Justin Fields, right? But like, I don't know. Maybe they're both. Maybe the
Jared Goff's 40 was a 4.82.
Okay, so they're right there.
So it wasn't slower, but they're both
0.05 seconds is not a huge difference. But like, it is very strange to me. So okay, with the Matthew Stafford trade, he trades Stafford back to LA, a team he's familiar with. Maybe there was some I know you guys kind of conversation. Like, you'll take care of Matt, you know, and you need the quarterback and have what we want. But don't remember where I was going with this. Oh, like they traded for Goff, knowing who Goff was, right? Like Brad Holmes knew who Jared Goff was. And so like then you draft Hendon Hooker round 3 last year, largely probably because he's hurt. That's why he was there. You know, but if they are both tall, relatively immobile, not fast quarterbacks, now we have 2 examples of guys that they've chosen to add to the roster, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like if that's the case and that's their style, then like I'm a little bit curious, like, where are we making up the difference on all the other teams that are using like mobile quarterbacks to like threaten a run or force a linebacker to like spy or something to that effect, So, I mean, like,
I think that's what our run game is, right? Monty and Jameer, they're the thing that's trying to keep those guys in the box and not sitting back waiting for Goff to throw.
right, but like, so that's the point, is that like when you have a quarterback, let's say Josh Allen, right, from the Bills, like if Josh Allen, and the reason I'm picking him is because he has led quarterbacks in rushing for like the last 2 or 3 seasons. If he drops back and you drop a linebacker into coverage, he might just go, right? He might just take off. Like Jared Goff's not going to do that. Hendon Hooker's probably not going to do that. But like just having a guy physically, athletically capable of doing that gives the team that has the mobile quarterback an advantage. And so like if you're not moving in that direction, it's a head scratcher for me. Is my point. So like that's a good point. Like Mahomes is 40 time. He is not a running quarterback. He is a mobile quarterback, right? And like even the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in overtime on like to convert on 4th down, just ran him on that little like I don't even know what to call it, RPO or whatever, and he just like ran for 3 yards and converted because no one was converted. I remember one time Peyton Manning ran a naked boot
to the end zone, and even the cameramen were like, "It's not going to be Peyton."
Peyton couldn't possibly have it, like because he wasn't very fast either. Like he's one of the slower quarterbacks I've ever seen, but like no one expected it. And when everyone's over there and you're all the way over there, it makes the difference in speed is pretty pronounced. So
you look at Aaron Rodgers, right? His 40 time was 4.71. He was pretty mobile and he doesn't necessarily beat you with his legs, but he will extend a play and he can get that first down on those 4th and shorts. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. We've not used Goff in that way, so I'm not. And the Rams didn't either, so I'm not sure if that's just because he can't do it or they're choosing not to have him do it, right?
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, like, and that's the thing about player projection, right? It's like, so like, I think the best example of that is CJ Stroud, right? Like the most recent example that we have of something like that is CJ Stroud, where it's like, okay, dude, are you the Ohio State game or are you the rest of your collegiate career? Because if you're the Ohio State game, you're going to be crazy good. And if
Ohio State versus Michigan.
No, this was Ohio State versus Georgia in the college.
Oh, Georgia. Okay.
It was that game where they had a chance either to win and go to the final if they made like a 35-yard field goal and the dude just like unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago, I think.
Sounds like a Buffalo kicker.
Could very well be. But
or Florida State.
Yeah, but like
transfer.
The Texans took a chance that like we think that you're the kid from the Ohio State game where you're more mobile than what you're indicating. And turns out so far he is. It's just that he wasn't asked to do that at Ohio State. And so like I think it's weird because they're rivals and like you could draw this parallel, but like what is JJ McCarthy going to be capable of when he wasn't asked to do much at Michigan? Is someone like, so if Minnesota trades up to 3, say they offer a San Francisco style deal to the New England Patriots to say, here's 3 ones and a mid-round pick. We want the 3rd overall pick. New England signed Jacoby Brissett, and I certainly don't think that that's their future. But like, do they feel like, okay, we're going to take this draft capital, move off of 3, we'll go down to 11. That's still we're going to get a good player at 11, and we'll be set up with these future picks. We're going to improve our roster like the Lions did, and then in New England's case, we're going to go and get our quarterback later, right? So with the Lions, they just brought their quarterback in and then used that capital to improve around him. But it's a little bit different timing for them, but I see it like a similar situation. And like if the if all of a sudden next year in the division the Lions have Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, and Drake May or Jaden Daniels, maybe even JJ McCarthy, like all of a sudden the NFC North is flush with like pretty decent quarterback talent.
Yeah.
And if these teams develop their quarterbacks well, that's going to be a real problem, because that's 6 games where you're going to have to play against good quarterbacks every year for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
So since we're talking quarterbacks, do we want to do our end of year quarterback kind of eval time?
Yes. Definitely.
All right, let's do it. So similar to last year, what I did is I took the top players at I did this for the rookies too, but I took the top players at their positions. I went through the top 5 and using PFF grades, and I did a minimum drop back of 363. It was, I don't know, like 20% of the highest or something like that. Basically, it's around 10 or 11 games, just so you can figure out, like, you get rid of that quarterback that had one game that he was a fill-in and, oh, he did really great and he was the 6th best quarterback. No, get that crap out of here. So I will say we've given Goff a lot of shit on this show. I'm not a huge fan of him, but like I thought this year, and his grades proved it out, his overall play was far better this year. And hey, weird, we won more. Correlation? I don't know. Yes. So what I did is I took the top 5. Allen, Mahomes, Jackson, Prescott, and Stafford were the top 5 graded quarterbacks. And then I added Jalen Hurts. He was kind of the guy in between there, like in that same area of performance for the year. Listed their games played, so that way we could have a little bit of context. Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson, and Prescott were all 90 and above. Stafford was right underneath that. Hurts, Goff improved his overall grade by 13 points. That was a big. He went from 20 to 11. Now, granted, I don't think he's going to go from 11 to 2 next year in another 9-slot jump, but this is why we did better this year, right, than the previous year. Yep. On the passing side, he was better. He was better than Hurts on the passing side. He was better than Jackson on the passing side. Obviously, the run is not what he's good at. 51.9 is not a good score. But that's not what we've got him on the team for. Is that why they've got Allen and Jackson? Yeah, that's a good chunk of what their value is that they bring to the team. Under pressure, he improved. Still wasn't good. He was 18th out of 28 with a 48.2 grade under pressure. Jackson was number 1. Mahomes is number 2. And then to me, what really stood out was the consistency that Goff had. Like last year, he had 3 games 80s or above, but he also had 7 games 50s or below. This year, he had only 4 games 50 or below, and he had 8 of them in the 70s. And he had more in the 80s and 90s too. Like he actually had a couple elite game, like high-end elite games in the 90s. He had some in the 80s as well. And if I remember right, some of those 80s were actually the upper 80s. But like I thought his consistency at that good to darn good level was far better than last year when he had a lot of duds. So to me, that was the thing that really stuck out to me. And then, of course, the guys like that are up at the top. I mean, Allen had 8 games in the 80s. Mahomes had 5, or 80s and 90s. Mahomes had 5. Jackson had 6. Prescott had 7. Stafford had 4. And then their 70s numbers were very similar as well. A lot of that consistency in that like 70s and above. So he played well. I thought he improved quite a bit. And his consistency was better. On the just raw stat size, I kind of threw this in here. There's a lot of numbers here, so I apologize for it's not a pretty graph, but Last year he was sixth in yards. This year he was second. His completion percentage was 20th. It moved up to fifth. Now, granted, there's a lot of, that's only a 2% change and it's a 15% swing. So completion percentage is one of those that's, 0.1% is like, multiple people. But he was in the same area as far as the touchdowns, his interceptions. He threw more this past year, but I think that his big time throws also improved. Right, he actually had 3.1 percentage of his throws were big time throws, so it's a little bit better. Not a ton. Like last year, he was dead last. This year, he was 24th out of 32. But improvement in his turnover worthy plays percentage dropped. But for the total qualified quarterbacks, technically was worse. But to me, like the thing that I wanted to focus on with just the raw stats are the big time play to turnover worthy play differential. He was a -6. He had 6 more turnover worthy plays than he had big time plays. This year he's a +3. It's not like a big number like Prescott and Stafford were high end big time plays. They were way up there. They were both tied for number 1, right? But this is 9 plays. This is a 9-play difference. And those are the kind of things that win you games. So I just wanted to do that. And then there were a couple other things that from last year to this year, his play action actually dropped a little bit. He went from 3rd to 11th, but his non-play action, his pocket presence, stepped up. So he went from 29 to 6. Under pressure, he did a little bit better. He's kind of in the middle. But like the big time throws averaged up the target. Some like he was 23 out of 24 and averaged up the target. Not great. But if that's our scheme, that's our scheme, right? Like if we're throwing those short outs or those short slants to St. Brown and Laporta, you're not going to have a super high depth of target. Turnover worthy plays, he was right in the middle. So like overall, I thought he did better this year. Grades proved it out, and if I can see another improvement in the big time play versus turnover worthy play bump again, I think that's going to be the next step for him.
The only thing he's going to do. So that you had your 4 games where he scored like in the 40s or 50s or whatever. Like how many of those games came in that 1 month stretch where it was like 9 turnovers or whatever?
Yeah, there were like 3 out of 4 games were 3 turnover games.
Yeah, exactly. So like I don't think that there's like a next level to his game. I think you're pretty much like getting what he is. Like the way that he improves is he brings it up, he cuts it off the back end, right? Like you don't have a month where it's just like, you have 9 or 10 turnovers in this month, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not going to make bigger time throws. He's going to eliminate more turnover worthy plays. Like that's the thing. I mean, like, and that's not bad. I'm not complaining about that. Like if Jared Goff, if Jared Goff eliminates 9 turnovers out of a season, like throw him a fucking parade. I mean, like, that's amazing. Like 9 turnovers in a season might be the difference between like winning the division and winning a playoff game and not, so like, and like, I think they went 3-1 in that stretch or 2-2. So it wasn't terrible, but
no, well, we lost 2 of the 3 games that he had the 3 turnovers. The Chicago game was the only one that we actually survived.
Okay. So, which is embarrassing, to be honest, in my opinion. Like, the Bears were leading in both games this season. So I'm like, Justin Fields terrified me for what he could do. But like, I'm also, so I'm happy that he's gone.
Yeah.
But like, there are things that he did. Mainly, he took terrible sacks that I really liked about him.
Yeah. And he threw a few interceptions. Like
he did. And Caleb's going to do that too. The biggest drawback to Caleb Williams is that he loves playing hero ball. he is going to run around behind the line of scrimmage like a chicken with its head cut off forever, trying to find that 65-yard bomb. And he can throw it that far, and like he can buy enough time to do that.
Yeah.
And like he will take bad sacks as well. But like Justin Fields, the only other quarterback that like really approaches his like terrible sack rate is Russell Wilson.
Oh, is it?
They both love to like scramble outside the pocket and like wait for those.
Turn their back on the play drives me nuts about Wilson. Jesus. He'll run back and he'll turn his back as he spins around. I'm like, why are you doing this? Mahomes did that a while earlier in his career. He doesn't do it as much now. I think he kind of learned his lesson, and Russell just never did.
Well, they traded Tyreek Hill. They don't run long developing plays down the field anymore.
Yeah.
So like when I was looking at the stats that you had compiled, I was thinking like, well, the reason that like Patrick Mahomes doesn't have as many big time plays as someone like Josh Allen or Matthew Stafford is that they are playing, ever since they traded Tyreek Hill, they are playing dink and dunk football going down the field in a manner a lot that's very similar to what the Detroit Lions want to do with their offense. Like the Lions want to be a chain moving first down all the time kind of offense. And like they're going to run those crossers, and those hooks into the middle of the field. And that's what Kansas City moved to when they traded away their deep threat in Tyreek Hill, is that they're like, okay, if the NFL is going to play this two deep shell all the time, all right, Patrick, dink and dunk. And like to Patrick Mahomes' credit, like he has changed how he is playing the quarterback position to adapt to what defenses are giving him. And like if Caleb Williams can be less of a hero and be patient and dink and dunk his way down the field, like he will have opportunities to play hero ball in the NFL. But like, can you take what the defense gives you to be successful? And like, I think that's going to take time, unfortunately. Like that's the only thing that really, you don't see many quarterbacks come in and play with that kind of poise right away.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks average depth lists have poise. So
yeah. The average depth of target that you were just kind of talking about. So Jared Goff had a 7.3 yards ADT. The guys right behind him, Daniel Jones, which doesn't surprise me, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Because
I was shocked with Burrow, to be honest. I wasn't shocked with Mahomes because it's a Travis Kelce led offense as far as like his targets and stuff go, and those are just not going to be down the field a ton, right? But exactly. I was a little surprised that Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and I'm surprised that he was his was 6.9 yards. So because teams know that Joe Burrow can throw that ball, they have to take it away, and so Joe Burrow is doing what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and he's like, fine, if you're gonna take that away, I'll hurt you over here, and like to Joe Burrow's credit, like that is the kind of play style that's going to let him play in the NFL longer and make his team be more successful. And if you want to beat the Chiefs, probably the only thing that like is holding people like Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen back is they happen to play in the NFL in a time where you had the two greatest quarterbacks to play in the NFL play back to back. Like Tom Brady locked it up for like 18, 19 years. And then we go right into Patrick Mahomes, who has been totally dominant for 6 seasons now and won 3 Super Bowls and has a chance to win a three-peat. I'm a Lions fan and I want them to win a Super Bowl, and I'm never going to root against them to win a Super Bowl. But if the Chiefs win a 3rd Super Bowl in a row, that is a fucking like I was alive for this kind of moment. Like that might not be something that's ever done again. So not in a salary cap era. It's super hard. I mean, even the Patriots didn't, right? And they were the consistency that they had in winning was amazing.
Yeah, that was a team that was like, this is a science, and we figured out the science, right?
Yeah.
So like the only other team that I really feel that way about is like Nick Saban's Alabama team for like the last 20 years. Like Alabama had a formula. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. They knew exactly what kind of players they wanted to make that work and be successful. And they play in the most difficult conference in college football for the last, I don't know how long the SEC has been the best conference, but it's at least been the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And, they dominated, I don't believe that. So, I don't want to fight about it, but I don't believe it.
I think he's definitely the most successful quarterback in history. If I was going to, Peyton Manning is my my GOAT as far as quarterbacks are concerned. And I think Brady's probably number 2, maybe right up there with like Montana. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be in that conversation. But Brady also played longer than Manning. He played an extra 6 years and had a Hall of Fame career in that time. So, I mean, as much as I'm not a big Brady fan, I recognize that he played really, really damn good. And I understand why people say he's the GOAT just because 7 Super Bowls or whatever. But
it would take a mountain of concrete fact to overcome 7 Super Bowls. It's just, when he went and won one in Tampa Bay the year after he left New England, I understand that Tampa Bay was a well-built team.
And they went out and built all the teams, the pieces around them. And
it was like, oh, Tom, by the way, your seat's ready right over here. First class. And that's certainly a part, I think, of what help him make up his mind to go sign in Tampa Bay.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Is I get another chance to win one, and he did.
You didn't see him signing in Cleveland. He didn't necessarily want a challenge. He wanted to win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's and I don't fault anybody for wanting to win in football, but how many MVPs does it take to equal 1 Super Bowl win? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, for as much as I absolutely can't stand him, has 4 MVPs,
4?
right?
Yeah.
So
Manning's the only one with more, with 5, I think.
Is he a 5? That's crazy.
I think so.
Yes,
because he's the best quarterback to ever play the game.
So he's a first ballot. As much as I hate his guy, Aaron Rodgers is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has at least one. He has 1 Super Bowl, right, and 4 MVPs.
Yeah. He walked into an NFC Championship quality team and lost his his first year starting, won his second year, and then was a really good regular season quarterback for the next 17. Just can't do it in the playoffs. Which is perfectly fine because it's he was in the NFC North for that time.
Yeah, exactly. And any great player is polarizing. Because there will be people that like him for a number of reasons, like they played for his team, or you like the way that he plays, or you think that he's a good person, or whatever it is. And then the other side of that is he did all those things to the team that you care about. So you either, people who have sustained success are very rarely oh, we love you. There was this great scene. I don't know if you ever watched the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington. And
I have not.
It's a great film. It's a wonderful film. And Denzel plays this drug dealer in Harlem, I believe, in the late 60s, early 70s, called Bumpy John. No, Frank. It doesn't matter what his name is. Anyways, this guy has taken over the drug trade in New York City and is well on his way to going national with his drug operation. And someone tries to assassinate him, right? Because
how rude.
Right. Because drug dealers aren't Frank Washington? Maybe. I'll assume Steve-O.
I'm gonna go with Steve-O. Yeah. He sounds really confident in typing that out.
So he's talking to one of his lieutenants or whatever, and the guy's Frank, you're successful. So success took a shot at you. Or whatever. And he was like, we choose to do this, you can be successful, and be unpopular, or you can be unsuccessful and you can have friends.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that was a really good summation for professional sports or anything that's work with competition, really, is that if you're good for a long time, most people hate you.
Yeah, as a
Mike
Red Wings
Lucas.
fan, I know there were a lot of
knew it.
NHL fans, right? Like 25 straight playoffs.
Yeah.
If you weren't a fan of the Red Wings, I will say, like, there are times where you're just like, you have really good people. Like, nobody, even the Colorado Avalanche fans, they hated the team, but they loved, like, Steve Yzerman, they respected the hell out of, right? And we respected the hell out of Joe Sakic, but, like, there was no love lost between the teams.
Someone on Twitter just said that we have re-signed Eric Decker.
Eric Decker?
Taylor Decker.
Oh, Taylor. I'm like, Eric Decker. I didn't know he was still playing.
He's it's a joke because it's the Dallas game, and the ref got him confused, and it's actually Dan Skipper that they re-signed.
Gotcha. Yes, that's funny. I like it.
Yeah, it's really great.
So I got a question for chat. Are you a fan of going over these stats and the analytics and the grades? I thought about doing like wide receivers and looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown, rushers like Hutch. Do you want us to keep doing those over the next couple of weeks between now and the draft? Curious if you guys are like, nah, this doesn't do it for me. I'm not going to spend the time. Like, I won't do it. But like, if you're like, yeah, this is all cool. I enjoy doing it, but I don't want to do it if everybody's gonna be like bored with it or not digging it. So let me know in the chat if that's something you want us to continue doing. Rookies, that's always fun to see how they compare. Maybe it's less fun for the established vets. So let me know.
Yeah, Hatters, if you're still on, like, feel free to throw your opinion. Donkey Kong, A6, Hatters, Steve-O.
Yep.
Anybody else that's lurking back there, not in chat, like, let us know.
Yeah.
Mike is,
or even after the stream, like throw a comment in. Yeah.
Mike is desperate for your validation. So,
Drew, he's so right.
Who doesn't like a little validation every once?
Who doesn't like a little validation?
Yeah.
I'm lazy, and if I don't have to do it because nobody wants me to, I will definitely spend my time elsewhere.
He will jump at that.
Yeah.
But while the chat is inundating us with their opinions, the Lions have made some moves as well. Like, maybe not top of the market moves, but like noteworthy moves as far as I am concerned. They re-signed Donovan Peoples-Jones, so kind of interesting. I don't know what the money looks like, but what is his name? Josh Reynolds. Still available in free agency.
I believe Donovan Peoples-Jones was a 1 year, $2 million.
Okay, so basically like cut rate, right? And they also signed former Baltimore Ravens guard Kevin Zeitler, who I am a great big fan of, and that shores up the O-line, right? So like Zeitler has come out on what are we opinionating on? I missed that. I wasn't that enough. Hey man. This is like we're almost on NFL Network's level.
Nearly. We're this close.
Yeah. Donkey Kong, Mike would like to know if you enjoy some of the stats that he put together, like on Jared Goff today, or if you would like to see less or maybe more of that type of thing. If that's interesting to you, that's what we're looking for. So I still have to draft an O-line. Okay, so let's talk about that just real quick. You have the Detroit Lions starting offensive lineman, as long as it's not Goff.
We're done with Goff, so now we're looking at edge rushers, wide receivers, and others.
One strike on us, right? The starting line is Decker, Glasgow, Ragnow, Zeitler, Sewell, if they had to walk out on the field today. You have backups in Dan Skipper, Awasika, Kobe Sorsdal. Those are the three guys. I think that they walk into the season with those 8 guys.
Yeah. Obinna Easy is on the practice squad from the offensive line as well.
Yeah, and you will have those 12 or 13 guys, right? So does that rule out taking an offensive lineman in the first round? No, it does not. I think all it does is gives the Lions the ability to go into the draft and say, we're going to take whatever the most advantageous situation is that we can come up with, trade up, trade down, take a guy that we like on our board, that type of thing. Here's the thing. A week or so ago, we talked about like players that have not been on the radar that the Lions could take at 29. Like a guy that I think would be interesting is Tyler Guyton, tackle from Oklahoma. Like if Tyler Guyton is there, you draft him, you put him into the you draft him, you put him into the like how you're supposed to eat, how you're supposed to lift, learn the playbook, work on your technique, start developing positive habits, getting, and like ironing out those wrinkles, that all college players have in their games, right? And like get them introduced to the culture. Like you now have a core of players that day in, day out, this is how they behave, this is how they work, this is what they believe in. Feel free to throw your opinions into the chat about the thing that Mike asked too, guys. Like that would be awesome. So I think that this class is very, very stocked when it comes to interior offensive line talent. And I think that it could be there. You might see a guy like Graham Barton, Troy Fontenot, even though he probably is going to be gone by the time the Lions pick at 29. Jackson Powers Johnson, perhaps. And those guys, I would think, if you're going to draft them in the first round, especially if they're interior offensive linemen, I wouldn't be surprised if they start. But I don't think that they're going to beat out a player like Zietler either. Maybe. But, like, you might as well have them, right? Because then, if the worst were to happen, you have depth. So I do think that it's a likely thing just because there's so much of it in this draft. And like, I do think that people are going to be attracted to the quarterbacks, wide receivers, corners, and tackles that are going to be prevalent throughout the first round. So is somebody like a Graham Barton from Duke who can play center, guard, or tackle? If he's there at 29, do you take him? I mean, at this point, based on how last year went, I'm just going to be like, I don't know. I'm going to take a guess, but I'm not going to get mad, right? Like, so, because they'll probably work out in 2025 or whatever, when Zietler's up, we'll see. We'll have another year of wear and tear on Frank Ragnow. What is he going to do? That type of thing. So, I think that the general consensus that I've seen in the chat last week and this week is that like no one's going to be upset if they take a offensive lineman at 29, right? Is there any position? Is there any position? And let's, for the sake of this argument, rule out punter kicker that they could take in the first round that you would be unhappy with.
Linebacker.
Yeah, well, there's just...
And running back. Like, those are the two most set positions on our team right now. And as far as taking a first round as a pick, the least valuable.
Yeah, we already did that. We already had that experience. So, okay, linebacker, tight end, running back. So, unlike last year, I don't think that there is a linebacker or running back that's even going to be discussed for the first round. I don't think that there's a quality prospect that you could warrant using a top 32 pick on.
Right.
Tight end, there's at least one, and I'd be surprised if he was there, and that's Brock Bowers from Georgia. But, like, I just don't – he does exactly what Laporta does. I mean, like, and Laporta – has better size and blocks better from what not that Brock Bowers is bad at it. Let me ask
interesting, Steve-O. I'm curious, every position's in play for me. I'm assuming he also means I'm not going to take a place kicker with number 29. But I am curious, why is the running back in play at 29? We've got definitely our two guys, right? And do we really want to spend a 29th pick on a third guy? So I'm curious about that one, and then the same with the linebacker position. I don't know why we would need another linebacker. Tight end, I can kind of see, right? There's less depth there than there is at linebacker. But yeah, I'm mostly curious about how the running back is a position that's in play.
Well, I mean, like, Steve was going to answer here, but like, wasn't in play to me last year, and they did it. And like if you draft Jahmyr Gibbs and you say he's not a running back, he's an offensive weapon. Okay, if you're going to use him like a Christian McCaffrey or something at some point in his rookie contract, right? Or an Alvin Kamara. What happens if they find maybe there's a different style of running back? Maybe he's not the Jahmyr Gibbs kind, but maybe he's like got enough juice to be a good runner, but like he's also like you can line him up, and he's also like he could like be like a fullback, that weird kind of tight split tight end or whatever they call it, the Y tight end or whatever it is, where you see them lining up as fullbacks in the backfield. Like, I'll tell you what, like as a Michigan fan, we watched we played Washington in the national championship game, and their fucking tight end was like a ridiculous headache for us. And I was just like, oh man, this kid, like, he might be a special teamer, and he's probably going to like kill you for 10 plays. And like, for as much love as they give Jason Kabinda, like, I don't see the dude show up, on the field or whatever. But like, if there is a different weapon style running, which I don't believe that there is in the entire class, by the way, but like, I don't, at this point, Brad Holmes is not going to surprise me with a running back in the first round, like back-to-back running backs in the first round.
And we tried it with wide receivers, and look how that
Holmes
worked out for us.
So like,
that's true.
Like, that was Matt Terrible Millen. But like,
those were the dark years, Drew. We don't talk about it.
So let's talk about wide receiver, though, just real quick.
Yeah.
If the Lions were to take the field today, it's very possible that their wide receiver alignment will be something like St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, or Donovan Peoples-Jones at that third spot, right? So, like, I think that people look at Khalif Raymond, Donovan Peoples-Jones, even if Josh Reynolds was re-signed, and they would say that's a weaker spot. Like, you could improve upon that, like with the 29th pick, right? So let's say there's somebody like the big wide receiver from Texas, A.D. Mitchell. He had a pretty productive combine. He impressed a lot of people. He's got great size. That's something that the Lions receiving core doesn't have much of. I think he's every inch of 6'4". He wasn't talking about just in the okay. That makes a lot more sense. Oh, the kid from USC? Yeah. Sure. I like that kid. Shifty. But like, I think that, and I've seen a lot of people like on social media say like, oh, you could take that third wide receiver. Here's the thing about it to me that makes me think that it's a little pricey for the Lions is like, if you take that third wide receiver, they had better give you a different thing to do in this offense. So like if they took Keon Coleman from Florida State, which I think is pretty rich at 29, but like, he's like, okay, we're just going to just throw the ball up in the air and I'll just jump up really high. I'll jump up higher than everybody else and I'll get it because I'm 6'5" and I can jump out the building. That's something that the Lions receiving core can't do right now. They have their speed guy. They got their get open guys, and then other guys that play.
Right.
So is that worth the 29th pick just to be able to put that guy on the field?
I would say yes, strictly because you don't know what's going to happen injury-wise. If Saint goes down, our next best guy is JMO?
Yep. Laporta.
I'm thinking like on the wide receiver, but yeah, as a pass catcher, Laporta. Depth is, to your point, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Khalif Raymond, and Antoine Green. is our other one, right? Like those are not guys that you're like, yeah, we really got some strong depth there. Those are beating hearts. Those are guys that are out there that can catch a ball when you throw it to them, but they're not difference makers. And I would like to see that be a target with number 29. If there's not a cornerback in there.
As I live and breathe. Hey man, what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good to see Joey. We chat every once in a while in the PFF chat room when we're watching one of their podcasts, but it's always good to have Joey swing by. Hey, Joey, would you use the 29th pick in the draft this year on a wide receiver? Let me know in the chat. But
do you want to do a mock, first round mock?
Do you even have to ask me?
The way to Drew's heart, our first round mocks.
Do you want to do a mock 1 through 32 and we pick for all the teams, or do you want to do like a 3-round mock just for the Lions?
Let's do a 3-round mock just for the Lions. Let me refresh this.
I literally do. I must do 7-8 mocks a day. So like, I just never get tired of it. It's like one of the few things in life I never get tired of. So,
all right, we're gonna do fast and not turbo, and we're gonna do for the Lions.
Okay.
And I'm gonna remove the banner so it's not hiding crap. All right, you ready?
Yep. Let's make it a little bit bigger. So notch or two. Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. Start draft.
I would not take wide receivers. I feel like the rest of the wide receivers are dart throws. All right, let us. Oh, interesting. Let us, Michael, just take a look at who has been drafted here real quickly.
Caleb, Drake, Marvin.
Interesting.
Tuesday, alt.
This looks pretty chalk to me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Oh,
Jaden goes. Wow.
So that is based on his consensus ranking. Not. I think he's third in the draft. So but they. Okay, McCarthy goes.
JJ.
There.
Wow, that's way higher than I would have expected.
I think that if you expect JJ to get past 11 in this draft, you're doing it wrong.
Interesting. I see they got Fontenot going to LA.
Mm-hmm.
That surprises me a little bit as well, especially with Donald retiring. They do have Kobe Turner, who was awesome as a rookie in the middle of the line there, but maybe he's good enough to overtake was it Note Boom and whoever else they've got. Yeah, maybe it's worth it.
Okay, so 80 Mitchell's DJ Tampa got taken.
Well, Donnie Mitchell's gone.
Too bad that Jackson Powers Johnson got taken at that point. All right, let's take a look at.
Although if he's on the board 2 spots ahead of us, do you think that we bump up a little bit to take him?
I would. Yeah, I would. I mean, yeah. I mean,
all right. So you're
not giving up that much to move up 2 spots than 20s.
Yeah. Here's a 5th round pick to move up a little bit.
Pretty much something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Latham's there. Guyton's there. Not taking a linebacker. I don't. Frazier. McConkey. Kool-Aid dropped. We like hurt guys.
Yeah, his foot's going to be fine. And, to be honest, I think that he's probably got the highest floor of any corner in the class. I don't think that his ceiling's nearly as high as the other guys. Oh, you want to draft Zach Frazier in round 1, Joey? Interesting. So this is between Latham and Kool-Aid McKinstry for me. If you want the tackle and you're not going to re-sign Eric Decker next year, Taylor Decker next year, I don't know why I do that. Some fucking Jets wide receiver from 15 years ago or whatever. If you're not going to re-sign Taylor Decker next year because you don't want to pay out $20 million to him and you want a replacement, then I think that you can take Latham, play him at guard, right guard for a year and then move him to right tackle and Sewell to left.
So is he taking over for the guy we just traded for? Or the guy we just signed from Baltimore? Zeiter or whatever?
So what I would do if I was the Lions, like if I understand the Lions the way that I understand them, like I think that if they are going to be drafting here, like in the 20s, especially the late 20s, a handful of times in the next decade, hopefully, like I think that you take what, and I'm sure no one's going to be surprised that I say this, but like you do what the Baltimore Ravens do, and you take the dudes that fall, and maybe it's like they fell 7 spots or whatever. And like, but to me, that is saying we are going to take, if they want to invest in the offensive line and you want value in the first round, like Latham is not supposed to be here. If it was me, I would just be like, we're just going to take JC Latham and like, we will figure out the offensive line. Like Kevin Zeitler is 34 and he's a pro and he's probably going to get the start because we know who Kevin Zeitler is. But like, Kevin Zeitler is 34 and we know who Kevin Zeitler is, right? And so like I think that you don't make this pick for next season, you make this pick for 2 seasons.
The next season, yeah.
Right. And so like you don't have to make a decision. You don't have to, like, you're not forced into such a terrible position where it's like, oh, Decker retired. Like there's a real situation where like Frank Ragnow could retire and like Eric Decker, Taylor Decker is not re-signed, and then all of a sudden your offensive line looks like Sewell, Graham Glasgow, and Kevin Zeitler. Like, do you want that?
Yeah.
No one wants that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, we're going to build this parachute into our roster. We're going to go. I mean, I would just draft JC Latham and just be like, fuck it.
Let's go with Latham.
Now, remember, we traded our 3rd round pick for Carlton Davis, which nice. I love it. So thanks, Joey. I always, you know what? Little praise.
Suck up.
I don't hate it, So Jermaine Burton. So first of all, I don't think Michael Penix will be here, right?
Yeah, probably not.
If he was, I would draft Michael Penix.
Interesting.
So Jared Goff's in the last year of his deal. You have Hendon Hooker. Michael Penix's hands are like dinner plates. He has 10.5-inch hands. Like hit a football in his hand is like me throwing a Nerf ball.
I was gonna say, yeah, she's playing Nerf.
Yeah, like if you want a dude that can absolutely rip it, it's Michael Penix, but he does have injury concerns. Okay, so we just took an offensive lineman. Do you want to take another offensive lineman?
Well, I think unfortunately, I don't see any edges that fell that are in this kind of area, right? So we're not looking at edge unless we're stretching for a guy like Booker. We've got a couple wide receivers, and I think we need help there. I would also consider a cornerback and even a safety.
Okay, so let's see if there's any corners or safeties. Because I saw one.
Yep. We got Jaden Hicks as a safety and Kyrie Jackson as a corner. And those are the...
I don't particularly like either of those players. I would, based upon the roster right now, I would probably take Hicks. Why don't you click on Jaden there for a real quick second? Let's go to first look. 6'3", 212.
Well-built safety.
That is an absolute wood layer of a build. So I mean, like that's the dude that's your in the box safety.
Yeah. Tone setting tackling.
Okay, all right. So let's do this, Mike. Let's go to his stats real quickly. Maybe we can get maybe they have a tackles, number of tackles. That's a bummer. But let's go down under snaps by alignment. There should be missed tackle rate 14.7%. Run defense grade 65.3. I don't know what the missed tackle rate averages look like in college football.
Yeah.
Let's see.
It's some pretty.
But like, I think he's certainly. I mean, that is a player that does something in that position group that's different. I mean, Ife Melifonwu also has good size, but like has battled injuries. So like, if Ife Melifonwu had a wonderful 7-game, solid tackler. I just liked seeing that. Ife Melifonwu had a really solid, like 7 or 8 game stretch at the end of this last season, and I think that he's earned a starter job, especially now that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is back with the Eagles. I'm sorry, CD Deuce. Mea culpa.
How dare you?
Yeah. He was real impolite on the way out too, by the way. So do you want to say, well, we're going to give Ife the chance to play a whole season? If not, here's the next guy in the cycle, like a second round safety, maybe. You have Kirby Joseph. He's your center fielder, right? So like, he needs somebody else that does that, come up in the box. And like, as much as I enjoy Kirby Joseph, like he just does not want to tackle. I mean, like that's not his thing. He wants to
hit.
He wants to pick passes off. Like he wants to play on the back end and run under it when they throw it deep and throw picks. He wants to get picks. That's what his job is. But like you don't want to bring him up in the box. Like this guy you could. And like he's not going to take over from this guy's not going to take Brian Branch's spot. So
right.
And another solid tackler in the secondary would be great. I would also draft Christian Haynes here. Like you have made a financial commitment to Glasgow. Not a huge
one. For 1 year, right?
3 years.
Was it 3? Oh, for some reason I was thinking he was a 1-year guy.
But I'm sure that the way that contract is structured allows for like, we'll see. Plus he's also 30 or in his 30s. I'll look up his contract here real quickly. Here you are, Graham. So he is 7 against, he's 2.5 against the cap this year, 7.5 the year after, and then no guaranteed money in his deal in 2026. And you would save $5.5 million by cutting him, just normal cut. So like, I think that that's really a 2-year deal. And so if you were wanted, let's say, hey, Pat Rothwell, not a safety this early. Interesting. Why not, Pat? Throw a Y in there and we'll really get the discussion going. But like, if you were going to say, we're not re-signing Eric Decker, Kevin Zietler is a 1-year rental. Next year, our plan is we're going to move Sewell to left, Latham to right tackle, and then Haynes will take Latham's spot, like one of the interior spots or whatever. You could do that. But now you're packing an awful lot of guys that you're carrying into next year. Yeah. And Haynes is ready to play now. Haynes can start for 28.
Well, and even Glasgow, his cap is 7.4, but like he only has $1 million guaranteed. So we could actually, if we didn't want him after next season, we'd have $5 million in dead cap, but we still save 2.1, which is obviously the difference between the cap number and the dead money. So like we really aren't married to him past the next year. Next year, he's going to be making the money.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I think that the way that the contract is structured indicates that it's a 2-year deal. I like a CB.
Yeah.
Defensive. Pat, so if you like those positions, like, is there a guy in this range that you like in particular? So like Kyrie Jackson is still on the board, or do you have a different corner and maybe a pass rusher? Or
I mean, I guess
DJ Reader's on a 2-year deal, right? He'll be in his late 30s.
Booker's expected to be there when we draft again at 73.
He would be number 4 on the duck jerk. A safety would be number 4 on the duck jerk. What does that mean?
I'm thinking autocorrect somewhere.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
So like we're gonna be picking at 73. Dorless, Sweat,
Those are two
Booker.
pretty extreme players.
Yeah, and they're expected to be there depth chart. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
good catch, Joey.
She got a guard.
Yeah, like I would go either wide receiver, one of these guys, or a cornerback, and take a guy like Kyrie Jackson.
So I like Jalen Polk from Washington. I like the way that he moved, and like Javon Baker. Let's take a look at Javon Baker. Joey says Javon Baker.
I like this. Go up and get it, guys. Contested catch.
Okay.
Baker.
So he's from UCF. So it might be he does not like Polk. He says, "You Polk." There he is.
Javon Baker. There he is.
6'1", 200. Okay.
Now here's a guy.
They don't have any of his stuff.
Nobody's watching UCF, huh?
Go to stats on him real quick, Mike.
Yep.
And scroll down. Receiving grade good. Contested catch rate, that looks like a blue dot, so that looks pretty good. Drop rates, he could work on his drops. Grade versus man coverage is blue. I don't mind taking this guy.
I'm good with it. Like I said, I'm looking for a wide receiver or a corner here.
All right, we'll let Joey make the pick.
All right, we're going to go with Javon Baker.
Yep. All right. Is the wide
Haynes is still here.
Hey, Mike. Pat asks, is the wide receiver from FSU there? Can you just go up to and search for wide receivers just real quick, and we'll see if he's on the board? Keon Coleman. Oh, Johnny Wilson's there. I'm assuming you mean Keon Coleman, but Johnny Wilson's there. And then if Johnny Wilson's on the board, I don't think that Keon Coleman's going to be ranked below him.
Yeah.
So
Spencer Rattler just went off the board
to the
right
Jets.
before us.
Have a nice career, Spence. Fucking Jets. Yeah, just exit out of the.
What are you looking for? Edge. What kind of edge rushers we got?
So yeah.
Edge.
Oh, I love Gabe Murphy. I love Gabriel Murphy. Give him a click. Look at the blue.
Give Hutch a running buddy.
Woohoo!
Improved each year, 85.
Yeah, 6'3", 260. Okay. So Hutch is 6'6", 270. Oh, you did want Wilson. Okay, so Pat, I've heard that he's considering a position switch to tight end. Would you still take him if he was if he changed positions and went to tight end? Big dude. He is a big dude. He's enormous. Second is too early for Javon Baker, in my opinion, but Polk has serious red flags. Hey, man, this is the Detroit Lions. We don't give a shit
about red flags.
No, about
wait, no, we do. We do care about red flags.
People. We draft people where we want to take them. If they're on the board and we like them, we'll take them. I love this guy as like a developmental pass rush. Like if James Houston's for whatever reason is not re-signed, and that kid from
I like this technician's mindset.
See, that's just it. Like there are guys out there, like I don't want to say Myles Garrett because he's just good at everything, but like there are guys out there that some of them are beat you with speed, like Dwight Freeney. Like everyone knew that he was going to spin move, and he just won with it all the time
because you couldn't stop it.
You couldn't stop it, And so like and Hutch has two moves. He has a bull rush and a spin move. Right, that's what he's doing right now. But like, what's better than having like unbelievable athleticism or one move that's like really, really good is that if you just can't be blocked, that's better than all that stuff, in my opinion. and like that technician, like good with his hands. That's the I can't be blocked stuff. Anyone have any thoughts on the San Francisco trade of Chase Young in retrospect? It's fine.
I'm gonna give Hutch the running buddy right there.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought what San Francisco did to go out and acquire Chase Young as a rental was fine. Like they were chasing a ring. They want to have their defensive line stocked. Okay, so the D- on Javon Baker will quickly get turned around when he proves how valuable he is as a
just like
player,
St.
right?
Brown, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like PFF, as much as I enjoy you, like wrong, but like I think like they were playing for Super Bowl. San Francisco had aspirations to win a Super Bowl, and I think a third round pick to chase the upside of Chase Young is not a bad deal. And he left, and like he got a 1 year, $13 million deal from the Saints, right? Because the Saints don't know what the fuck they're doing. And if every once in a while they have that turnover on their roster, and like that turnover, like so the Lions had Jonah Jackson leave, right? And he signed a pretty good contract out on the open market, but they didn't have a lot of guys leave, right? And that's the difference between a team like the Lions, and they're just not there yet, I think, with their roster. I think they'll end up there. But like a team like San Francisco is in a place where it's like we have pillars, but we're also going to turn our roster over quite a bit around our pillars. And that exodus every year where you have these guys probably go play in the NFC title game or make the Super Bowl, they get a bunch of exposure, and then it's like, okay, I want this guy to be on our team or whatever. Or like I'm willing to chase Young's upside or whatever, right? And like if you have this guy signed for 10 million and that guy signed for 13 million and then this and then that and then this and then that, and you just have all these comp picks, then you can go into the draft and you can just replace, if you have 3 or 4 extra comp picks, you have fucking
They've got a shit ton of them, don't they?
They always have a ton of picks. Remember, this is the team that didn't have a pick until the third round last year, and they still had like a full year's worth of picks or more.
I think they had like 9.
Yeah, it's insane. And like why I want Detroit to go to this model so badly is because if you have a guy like Brad Holmes who is drafting this well and has demonstrated that he can find talent in the mid and late rounds, why not give him 9-10 chances a year to do that? That's how I would prefer to see it. Now, maybe I'm just envisioning something that's 3 or 4 years away.
Yeah.
And they end up having to go to that model. But I want it now because I love picks. So
it's options, right? Every pick is a spin at the wheel.
Right.
And the more spins you get, the more likely you are to land on a winning stop. So the Rams and San Francisco 49ers have 5 this year. They lead the NFL.
Dallas is projected to have 4 next season in 2025. Like, so the way that the CBA, we just finished up round 3, Pat. We are all done. So we went J.C. Latham, Javon Baker, Gabriel Murphy. So we went tackle, wide receiver, edge. So, not bad, not sexy, but like these are the teams. Like, here's the thing: like New Orleans Saints is sitting there at 5 with 3 extra comp picks, right? Because they've had to let people go. Hey, man, keep coming back and being in chat. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
They've had to let people go because of their just absolutely horrendous cap situation forever, right? So if you might as well turn those players that you have to leave into comp picks so that you can do a Los Angeles Rams style restock where it's like, okay, yeah, you may have a couple of guys on absolutely enormous contracts, but the rest of your roster doesn't cost shit. It's a bunch of 5th, 6th, and 7th rounders who are making $789,000 this year. that kind of thing, and like I agree with Pat. Like you need a cornerback and a guard. Like cornerback is my biggest need, but I couldn't pass up J.C. Latham at 29. That kind of thing. But like, can't remember where I was going with this. I'm trying to talk about 3 conversations at the same time. But like I would be giving Brad as many bullets in that gun as I could possibly. If everyone else is going to come to the draft with like a revolver, and Brad shows up with a semi-automatic, like, okay, we're really doing stuff here. So
yeah, and this is the thing that you get, right? This is last year's average team age. The Rams, because they did restock, they were the 3rd youngest at 26 years 4 months. We're the 4th youngest. Like we have a pretty young team because we shed all of our previous regime's picks, and we hit on a ton of them of Brad Holmes's picks, right? Yeah. So that means you are starting and you're playing and you're keeping those guys on your team, drops that average age down, keeps you young, keeps you quick, right? Mm-hmm. We are 60 days older than the Rams. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Just under.
So like one thing that like Minnesota under Kwesi, their new GM, is kind of known for is like they just want to be young. Like they want to have their roster stocked with young guys. Like you saw them, they let Danielle Hunter go, and they signed Jonathan Grenard for almost dollar for dollar what Hunter got on the market, right? So it's like, what's the difference? Well, Hunter is 3 years older than Grenard. So is his age just something that they value higher than other teams? So like 26, you're 3-4 years out of college, like you're a veteran, but you're a super young veteran. Yeah, Van Ginkel, another good one. Good point. Vaitai, Sudfeld, Jones, Marvin Jones. Yeah, Mike and I were talking the other day, and we were like, and I was like, yeah, well, Marvin, we were talking about targets and how Goff was spreading out the targets on the team, and we were talking, and I was like, don't forget, like Marvin Jones had like 15 of these, and he was like, who? And I was like,
he was on our team? What?
Marvin Jones was on this team for like the first 7 games of the year. And they're like, oh, yeah. It's quick. It's crazy how fast stuff like that changes, So that's always fun. But like, I think the Lions are right where they want to be, which is we can put a field that we can put a team on the field. What's the officer problem? We can put a team on the field that we're confident in.
Yeah. Including Eric Decker.
Yes, exactly. Coming out of retirement, Eric Decker to play wide receiver, or ex-wide receiver. So they can go into the draft and have the most flexibility that they could possibly have. Like it's just setting up more success.
Yeah. We're a little over 90 minutes in, so we'll probably start wrapping up here, but did want to promote the April 2nd episode. So what, 3 weeks from now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks from now. We're going to have 6 guys. We're hoping to get a couple others, but jobs and stuff like that got in the way. But there's going to be 6 of us. We're going to do a mock draft. A6, my buddy Brian, Michael Whartonby, which I don't know if I saw him in the chat at all today, but he's been in it before. Luke, he's a Cardinals fan. So, and then of course Drew and I. So we're gonna each take a division. I think Drew and I might end up with a second division, and then we'll just draft and trade and go through the first round as though we are drafting for those teams. It's a ton of fun. I think last year there was just 4 of us, and this year there'll be 6. Maybe next year we can get 8. It's tough to get that many people all accessible on the same day. So, but I'm looking forward to that. That's a ton of fun.
And I've already sent you a trade proposal, Mike, that you haven't responded to.
Yeah, well, some of us have to work during the day, Drew.
We talked. We had a back and forth for like 25 minutes. And then I was like, here's a trade proposal. And he was like, no, I'm all done. I'm all done talking.
Well, that's because we did it over lunch, and that came at the end. Anyway. But yeah. I did. At first, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, what is he talking about? I had to go look up the picks. I'm like, oh, that's for the Colts. You want the Colts picks. All right, let me see what we got here. So I haven't ignored you. I am going to take a look at it. I don't know what the Colts need right now, and whether that is a what's that?
I have the Colts. You have the Chiefs.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll have to take a look and see what the Chiefs need. I don't. Anyway, yeah. So picks. Yeah. So anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. Who want A6 asks, who wants the 3rd overall pick?
The Minnesota Vikings do.
The Minnesota Vikings. That's Brian's division. I think Brian's got the NFC North.
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, like, and here's the thing that I think is unfortunate for Brian is it's like, I don't think the Vikings in reality go out and make that trade with the Texans, do anything other than try and move up in the draft to go get a quarterback. Because, like you said, they have Sam Darnold on the roster.
Yeah.
You know, and like, if Brian sticks at 11 and just plays Russian roulette or whatever with his draft picks, like, he'll get to make another pick.
Yeah.
But like, they may have to play with Sam Darnold all year. Hooray. Like, do you think Justin Jefferson is going to be thrilled to be catching passes from Sam Darnold? Do you think that their management has been like, hey, Justin, good news. We are not going to take a quarterback. We are not going to make a move for a quarterback. You know, and here's the thing: like, if they get somebody like Jaden Daniels or Drake May, JJ McCarthy won't be on the board at 11. I mean, you look, just look real quick. You have Minnesota, Denver, and Las Vegas all in a row. And do you think that if Denver or Las Vegas saw JJ McCarthy get to like 9 or 8,
they won't bump up a couple spots cheaply
and jump the Vikings, right? Or like, you might be able, like the Giants might be able to, like, let's just say the first 3 are quarterbacks, and it's like Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels in some order, right? Whatever. Arizona's unlikely to take a quarterback. The Chargers are unlikely to take a quarterback. The Giants could take a quarterback. You have Danny Dimes. You play Danny Dimes this year. He's more palatable to be cut next year. And you can sit JJ behind Danny Dimes for a year, like, which is the perfect situation for JJ, because as much as I like him, he should absolutely sit for a year, which is something I very rarely say. So, like, Tennessee, no. Atlanta, no. Chicago, no. The Jets, no. So, like, you can run the risk, but, like, are you sure a team like Tennessee or New York or Los Angeles or Arizona won't want to trade out of those spots? It might take a lot of capital to move up, but now Minnesota has more than Denver. They have more than Vegas. It is good.
It'll be interesting. I think there's a lot of opportunity for movement just based on, like you said, the Chargers. They don't need a quarterback, so a quarterback needy team might want to bump up.
I'm going to be all over this thing. So
it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. This show, and then our live draft show are my 2 favorites of the year. So
yeah, it's going to be what's going to be nice about. I think what's going to be nice about the draft this year is that we're picking 29.
Yeah,
you know, and like by the 29th pick last year, we were all like, I could use a nap.
Yeah.
Danny was the only one that was like, okay, we're still sitting up in our chairs and watching what's going on or whatever. But
you were still trying to mop the tears after a running back followed by a linebacker pick.
The Campbell pick broke me. It just broke me. But
yeah. But that's, I mean, if you want some great entertainment, go back and watch that draft show. It's only 4 hours long, but it was fantastic.
I watched it. a couple weeks ago.
Pat wants to know if we're going to do a mock draft next week.
Well, we don't
I
have
don't see
anything
why not.
planned. Yeah, we don't have anything planned.
We could probably do
We'll
one.
have something planned, but like we can fit in. Do you want to see a first round mock where we do all the teams, or do you want to see a Lions 3-round mock?
Or 5 or full,
I mean,
Lions.
we can do. I usually try and keep it within the top 100 because otherwise it's just so many names that you have to be familiar with, and I'm not a professional scout. Oh, he says sounds good. Either way,
Yeah, sounds
dealer's
good.
choice.
Either way. All right.
But like I would do. I think they only have 6 picks now, so I think like I would do a full 7-rounder. But yeah, you don't ever
We
have
could put it on the super fast, right? So
yeah, we don't. I mean, like you never have to twist my arm to do a mock draft. So
yeah. So. All right. Well, we'll do one next Tuesday as well, and then the following one will be the big one with all 6 of us.
Yeah, that one might run. That one might run long. I mean, that might be 2+. So
yeah, I mean, we're gonna be talk about our picks. We'll make some trades. Even at like 2 minutes a pick on average, you're still looking at an hour just for that. That's not including going longer for other trades and stuff like that. So it'll be a fun time.
The thing that I think we have to watch out for is that it's like if Brian and then so especially if Danny was going to be participating.
Yeah.
Like if those guys just go up and it's like, okay, I'm not going to use any of my 2 minutes or whatever that we're going to give everybody.
Number 1 overall, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I didn't have a chance to talk to you about this, right? Like, so I do my homework for the next one. Oh, there you go, man. Yeah, nice. Do your homework, man. That would be awesome. Like, it's nothing. We love intelligent conversation here. So bring some takes, back them up. It's gonna be awesome. And then we can do a mock draft next week. All right, we'll do it. So,
all right.
What
the hell? What?
You talked me into it.
Yeah. All righty. Well, it was great chatting Lions with you, Drew, and everybody in the chat. Pat, welcome. I don't recognize the name from previous, so I don't know if this is your first time, but we appreciate you and hope you're back in the future as well.
Yep.
Anything else for the good of the crew, Drew?
No, I have nothing. I've spent everything I have.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
See ya.
See you, buddy.